Well, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's it going? I'm perky now. Should have seen me about an hour ago. Could not wake up. I am not kidding you. And I think I went to bed reasonably early. I don't know. I'm here. I'm glad you're here. Others are coming. I know because they called in their reservations. And what did you do over the weekend? What did we do? Oh, I worked. Huh, go figure. Worked over the weekend. We went out to eat once because we're limited now. They gotta be way across the room. I'm not trying to be back to back. I don't care if you are, but no, I ain't going out like that. The only Corona I'm carrying is the Corona 20, and I'm getting rid of it, and that's the 20 pounds that I've gained during this whole thing. The Corona 20, no joke. I'm getting rid of it. Brian and I both are working on doing better. I thought I would cook my way through. You know what I'm saying? But then what I didn't factor into that brilliant plan was that meant we'd be eating our way through. So that's how we both ended up with the COVID 20, and we're working on getting it out. Our health clubs here in the Chicagoland area reopened last week. I went twice, and I gotta say, I was pretty impressed with the way they're doing it. You walk in, someone's right there at the door, hand sanitizer stations absolutely everywhere, and spaced out. Do not use this equipment; is not available. Blah blah blah. But I did see a couple people now. Y'all tell me what you think. There was like one girl that was four. What do you call those things? Treadmills down from me. There were no one was in between us, but she got right on, straight out the gate with no mask on, just walking like it wasn't nothing, like she was in Central Park. And I couldn't concentrate because I can't do it with the mask when I'm working out because it's like so I put the bandana on because underneath headphones it's really like out here. So you have a lot of air moving through there. That I can handle. But I did see a guy on a bike, got on there and for 20 minutes he didn't have a mask on, then he put it on. So what do you think? What do you all think about that? Should I stay or should I go? When people are doing, I can only control what I do. But I didn't know if what they were doing was in line with proper social distancing etiquette and or protocol rather. So tell me what you guys think. Would you stay or would you go? Hmm? That's the bell of purpose you heard ring. It means that today, when our guest, and we got a humdinger, a doozy today. You might have seen him last week when he was our surprise puppet guest when Maureen Flatley from Capitol Hill was with us. And his name is Demetrius. I'm not even trying that last name. We were joking about it. I'm gonna call him D, just because I can say Demetrius, but that last one, mm-mm, mm-mm. You'll think I'm Ned the Butcher because I will cut it up. So anyway, that's what we did this weekend. How were things in your neck of the woods? Whatever it was, I'm glad we all made it through. God, thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping us safe and blessing us abundantly. We're here today. This is a short week for me. There'll be no bathrobe moments this Friday because I will be first time ever. I'll be leaving. Oh yes, there will be. The network is gonna show reruns in syndication. I'm kidding. They're going to be showing reruns. And all next week as well. Misty Lane will be my stand-in host a week from this Wednesday for Bathroom Moments After Dark. And I think it's Aaron Brooks will be our guest, young Aaron Brooks, a singer from Emerson College. So he'll be here. She'll be here. And this week I'll be here all the way through Thursday. And then I'm headed off to the Ozarks for my annual homeboy fishing weekend with my Air Force friends. So that's where I'll be. Brian will be with his family in Iowa. Where will you be? Right here, I hope. So anyway, today's guest is a young man that I met when Brian and I went to New York with Mo Flatley, Connie Going, Darlene Allen, Susan Grunberg, and Kate. And we all went there. God rest Kate's soul. She has passed on since that time. And we were there talking about how our voices could change the state of what's going on inside the foster care system. This young man has quite a story. I'm going to let him bring you up to power on it because his camel herd. He came in with I think it was 3 or 4 camels he rode in with this morning because he just came from India. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where they parked those things, but somebody better be out there with a little shovel or a poo-poo, one of the bags or something, because I ain't cleaning it up. Hey.
I'm still laughing at the camels.
Hey, that would have been a nice touch.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing well, Loren. So good to see you, man.
Good to
Thank you for
see you
having
too. Welcome back in your own moment. It's been a minute. Now you are in where are you? You're in New York?
me. Yeah. So I'm in my birthplace, Harlem, in my home, in my residence. Yeah.
Mm, Harlem. Let me ask you something about Harlem real quick. Welcome to the show, by the way. I'll get to you guys' questions here in a minute. Good morning, everybody out there. I'm watching on my phone too. I like to see it
Mhm.
because I can see their faces, the comments and stuff. So listen, Harlem. You ever been to where they do the Apollo or where they did the
Yeah,
Apollo?
yeah, yeah. Of course, of course.
You been in there?
Yeah, yeah. A few times.
Is that piece? You seen that wood thing that everybody rubs for good luck?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, so if I come there to New York, is it like a tourist place? I can go in there.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a tourist. They're building it like at this really big high rise right next to the Apollo. So it's just going to be a further flood of tourists and folks from outside of Harlem's land.
Harlem.
And so, absolutely.
Wow. So you grew up there for the most part.
No, born and raised in Harlem Hospital. Spent until up until 13 in Harlem, and then I moved to Brooklyn when I was re-entered into the foster care system, and then 22 when I aged out of the system, I moved back to Harlem where I got my own apartment.
Wow. Talk about it. Tell everybody. That's the connector we have. That's what makes us relatives. Uh, we're siblings, or I guess I'm the great uncle because I'm too old to be a brother. Be some old parents if they have both of us. Oh no, listen. So we are both products of not products. I don't know. I guess I would say alumni of the foster
Yeah,
care system. Your story's woof. People think I have one with 22 homes, but the interesting thing about your story, and then we want to get into your recent exploits and pilgrimages and vision quests and all that good stuff to Mecca. You tell us about how you entered the system. What age were you, and how many different homes were you in? I know you were rehomed, and that's a big passionate spot in your world for you to speak about. Talk about that, and I'm gonna just shut up and let you do your thing.
yeah, yeah, of course. Well, as I said moments ago, thank you once again. I appreciate you for having me here. So
Absolutely.
to give a quick background about my experience inside the foster care system. So unfortunately, well, I don't want to say unfortunately because the foster care system has now turned into my blessing. But
Amen.
I was placed into the foster care system when I was just a couple of months old because of my parents' inability to care for my older brothers and I, and also because they succumbed to the drug addiction
Right.
going on that was as pervasive in Harlem. Uh, and so ACS took me and my two older brothers away from my parents. And so from let's say about 2 years old to 5 years old, I was in about 3 to 4 different foster homes
Okay.
because of the severe neglect and abuse that we were enduring, my brothers and I. And they wanting ACS or BCW at that time wanting to keep us together. They didn't separate us until so at 5 years old I got adopted. So my biological name is Tasharon Taylor. But when I got adopted, she adopted me 5 years later. When I was 10, she changed it to Demetrius Johnson. So I was in this one foster home in Harlem, Spanish Harlem, from 5 to 13. And in this home, I experienced physical, emotional, sexual, mental abuse in all
Mm,
of its variety of forms. And it wasn't all bad. I mean, there were a lot of good moments, well, a few
hmm
deep, good moments in my childhood, but it seemed that all of the trauma and the pain that I experienced kind of overshadowed any of the good that I did experience in my youth. And so at 13 years old, after dealing with the death of my mother, my mom died when I was 10, my biological mother, and even before I didn't know her. So she died of cancer. And then so I was at that time 13, now a young teenager. I'm feeling all of the effects of my mom dying, of all of the abuse, especially the sexual abuse and
Right.
the verbal abuse. I and my oldest brother being locked up, sentenced to 8 years in prison, and my middle brother being
Wow.
taken by his father down south. So I was in this home more or less by myself without my two, in one way, guardians, if you will, my two brothers. And with all of the abuse piling up, I eventually ran away. And this was when I re-entered the foster care system, and I
Okay.
used. So my adoptive mother, she wanted to keep me, of course, because the checks was coming, and when you adopt a child, you get more money, and when you
Okay.
have all of these titles they put over you as problem child, difficult child, all the problematic young person, and the such, the stipend that you get or the adoption subsidy increases. So of course she didn't want to give me up. I was on a whole host of medications and the such, and so
Really?
Yeah. So then 13 years old, I had enough and I ran away. And I had gotten stabbed when I was about 8 years old by one of my adopted sisters, and I showed that to ACS then, saying, "Hey, I don't want to go back to that home because this is the abuse that I'm enduring." So
Right.
from 13 to 22, this is when I went through the most foster homes, and it was when it is then that I traversed the system and was in approximately 30 different foster homes, well 25, and then the 5 before I was adopted. So my entire time inside of the foster care system, I was in approximately 30 different foster homes all throughout the 5 boroughs. And
30?
they're 30, and I'm not even 30, I'm 25.
Wow.
Yeah. And so to wrap the story up,
I'm
so
sharing.
when I was 16, 15, I was put inside of a juvenile detention, and this is where my life changed. And this is where I realized that, and I will share this. I called my adopted mother while I was in this juvenile detention, because this is when I lost all hope. My oldest brother's in jail, and I didn't have anyone to lean on to. I lost my freedom, and I was slightly losing my mind. And so I called my adopted mother and said, "Hey, Grams, I'm locked up, and I don't have anyone here." She said these exact words to me. She said, to Sharon, my biological name, "You wanted the world. Now you have it." And it was like, sheesh, I'm already down, and you kicking me while I'm down. So that further plummeted me into depression. And then I would have sunken deeper into the prison system had it not been for one person, and that was my social worker, who I was very fortunate to
See?
have, who reached in and kind of pulled me out through her consistency, through her love, through her endurance, to put up with a young person like myself who was just dealing with so much trauma, so much pain in every form, and I was lost, and I was trying to cope with all of this. And so my social worker, Miss Ince, she stood by my side, and I'll never forget these words. And I always share this when I tell my story. When the judge had sentenced me to X amount of months inside of the foster care system, she said to me, I said to Miss Ince, "Just leave me like everyone else did." And
Oh,
she said these words that completely changed my life. She said, "Demetrius, you will leave me before I ever leave you." And it was in that moment that I realized, that no matter what is it that I face, I have this woman who, no matter what I do, will not leave my side. And this was when I did a complete 180, and then I re-enrolled in high school because I dropped out of high school because I didn't have enough clothes. My adopted mother, when ACS reached out to her to get my clothes, she was like, "You created this monster, now you deal with him." And so I had no clothes, and so I dropped out of school. But then my social worker helped me get a few items. I went back to school, eventually graduated, went off to SUNY Jefferson, which is a community college upstate, then transferred down to BMCC, did half a semester there, dropped out because I was dealing with a lot of family issues. And then I got an opportunity to intern at St. John's University, to get an associate's degree at St. John's University. And then I got my associates in business management, and I had the highest GPA in my cohort. And then I transferred to NYU, where I got my bachelor's in political science. And then I just graduated 2019 in May. And then after that, now to kind of, I appreciate you. Now
you had just started when I met you.
Yeah, hello, right? So in NYU is a whole journey in itself. But so once
what a great school, though.
Huh?
What a great school.
No. Academically, it pushed me like nothing else in my life ever did.
I remember. I remember texting you, and you were like, "I don't even have time to return your text. I got all these papers that are due, and this and there." Because I was like, I don't remember college being that hard. Is he just blowing me off? Brian was like, "Honey, it's NYU." I was like, and he was like, "It's tough." And so, they were putting you through your paces, weren't they?
Yeah, no. But I was able, through determination and resiliency, to persevere through that academic institution. And then, so now to get into current Demetrius, more or less, I did leave this out. When I was 18, once I started to figure myself out and make a little name for myself, I met my future adopted parents. One, John is Italian, Katie is from Syracuse. And long story short, we just instantly, you ever met someone where you just instantly click with them? And so John and Katie, they came into my life at the right moment. And after 2-3 years of a relationship, I popped the question to them and I said, "Hey, would you be open to adopting me?" And it wasn't just for my own peace, but I also thought about my children one day and all of these people in my life. Now I don't want folks to come in and out of my children's life as a revolving door if something happens to me, but to have two pillars in their life to act as stability. And so at John and Katie, they said, hey, we feel like we already adopted you, but if you want it to be legalized, if you need it in paper, which is what I also needed for my own psyche, because I was so used to people coming in and out. I mean, 30 homes, 30 different families, 30 different cultures.
All these names. I remember. I had all those names. I know what you're talking about. People don't get that, do they, Demetrius?
Hello. And all the trauma that does to the mind and to the self-value that us young people in the system deal with. So I popped a question to them and they said yes, hence the last name now being Napolitano, which the adoption took about 2.5, 3 years. And then, so John, I brought this up because John was the one who introduced me to meditation. And so he realized that as someone who had ADHD, was on all these different types of medications and as such, and all of my inner challenges, meditation, I found with John, was a place where I can kind of forget about the world and just look within my own soul. And a place that was filled with so much darkness, so much self-hate, so much ugliness, if you will. And so after doing about 1.5 years of meditation with John, I wanted to just travel and do meditation. So I applied to Fulbright, which is a government organization, more or less, where you can travel to anywhere in the world to study anything of your choosing. Unfortunately, but not so unfortunately, I did not get Fulbright. I applied to a few scholarships, but that didn't work. I said, you know what? I am determined to go to India to study meditation and yoga because I have a vision and I have seen what meditation can do for me. Now to wrap it up. So I went to India for 9 months. And I had a life transformative experience with digging deep into my own soul, where I was able to, in isolation, in seclusion, more or less, just be alone and learn to love Demetrius, learn to love the man's shoes that I walk in, because tap that bell, stop playing.
I know. I got my church fan out, getting chilled. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to keep but pretty soon I'm gonna get up and start speaking in tongues and running back and forth. Wait.
So
that's so good. Keep going.
Okay, so to wrap it up, it was a phenomenal experience, and I learned so much about myself through meditation. And now I will point this out. Through my journey, I shared a lot on social media, more than enough. And so I only showed, let's say, the joyful moments on social media. I didn't share my suffering. I didn't share the moments of pain. I didn't share when I was questioning myself and my entire identity and all the things I was going through within. But because those moments were solely for Demetrius. And so taking 9 months of self-healing, I went through this amazing journey, and now I'm back home and I'm in the process of starting a nonprofit called Fostering Meditation, where we teach at-risk youth, especially those in foster care, how and why to meditate. We teach them mindfulness. We teach them how to look within themselves to find everything that society told them that they do not have. We teach them how to love themselves, how to accept themselves through mindfulness, through meditation, through yoga, and this is where I am.
Wow. Demetrius, man. Lou, there's so many. I'm trying to sit up here and go, okay, which direction do I want to go down first?
Yeah, no, I gave you a lot.
Well, that's usually what I do. Now I see how my tests feel, because I'll put 16 questions inside of one. I will. People always say that afterwards. Do you know that you asked me like 4 questions at one time? And I was like, I did. So, because it's passion. It's that passion that we live within. And I don't apologize for it. I live my passionate life unapologetically, because I know there were decades that I thought I'd never even get close to this, where I could really. So I feel you. Listen, let's talk briefly. We're going to move through this entire journey. Let's talk about when you first started with John on learning meditation. Was it something? Did he talk you into it? Were you curious? And what did it seem like when you first sat down? Like, okay, is this real? Does it work? Am I doing it right? What was going through your mind, and how far is the spectrum now? What, from point A to point B, to the you when you first sat down with meditation to the you today, having just returned from this pilgrimage to India?
Yeah, very beautiful question. So when I first started meditation with John, I realized that just the act of sitting alone with myself was something that I rarely ever did, because when you're coming from a system that I don't think intentionally, but but because of the parents and how we're treated as us young people, we're treated as objects. There is so much self hate that, and especially myself, I really blamed Demetrius to Sharon for everything that happened. I blamed myself for my parents dying, my mother dying, my father wasn't in my life. I blamed myself for all of the abuses that I endured, and so was a lot of self-inflicted pain. So chose not tried to my best to avoid any time alone with Demetrius. Though I had no problem being alone because I was often isolated as a child, but to deliberately spend time with my mind and self, I chose. I didn't. I steered away from that path. And so when John, he didn't really walk me through. He kind of let me kind of swim out on my own, but he did let me know that, hey, I'm here. If you need me, I'll be a pillar in your corner, in this meditation corner. And he led by example, by showing me, just to connect with your breath, just be present. You feel me? And so it was through constant practice. We'll meet up and go to the park and just breathe. Or even when he's teaching me how to swim, he was like, a meditation is all about the breath, connecting with the breath.
Okay.
And so and especially I'm a very open-minded individual. And so what made me gravitate towards meditation so much is that as a kid, when my adopted parents and other parents tried to force medication down my throat to control me,
Mm-hmm.
me that was a no-brainer, because once I realized that the medication was controlling me, I realized that I don't want to be on this, because I don't want nothing controlling me. I went from a hyperactive kid to now just sitting in a chair like this,
Mm-hmm.
and once I realized that, and then I found, so here I find a route that I can take that doesn't involve medication, but now meditation, which can help me just be centered. And so I did a few sessions with John, and then would venture out into my own journey of just being alone in the park and just connecting with my breath. And then it was really through India and all of the trials and tribulations and every experience that I had that taught me the impermanence of everything, how everything arises, all feelings, all sensations arises, and they all fall. So it was just constantly practicing being alone, to now where I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do an hour of meditation and then do my yoga and all of this.
Isn't it interesting, how only one letter? Oh, yeah, okay. Brian's handed me a vegetarian sausage.
Okay.
Oh, Demetrius, Brian said hi.
Hey, Brian.
Brian, do you want to say hi to him? He doesn't want to come on screen. He misses you too. We've talked about you consistently since we met you. You're that kind of a guy who just leaves an impression. And your journey is such an exciting thing to watch. I was gonna say, I find it so interesting that there's only one letter difference between medication and meditation.
Woo! Talk about it.
Just one letter. Isn't that something? Yeah, I wrote it down and I'm looking at it and I'm like, medication, tation. There's only one letter, a T and a C. Interesting. I think you can do something with that one. You'll get my bill on the 15th of the month. I'm kidding. So listen, I have so much. We're gonna have to really talk later because remember when I asked you for some footage a couple years ago, and I wanted to put it inside of our sponsorship video for the Power of We Symposium, which is focused for at-risk inner city youth, and we used it. I don't know if you've ever seen that finished product, but you're in there. You're in that beautiful gray suit, and you're speaking, and we have your child picture, a little picture of you, and because it was just so purposeful, our thing was the power of, and you had the power of one, I think it said, on the bottom of your picture. Okay. And it was meant to be, but we'll get on that. But I'm going to talk to you about that because, we're going to do another one here in Chicago. We did it in Atlanta. We're going to do them all over. We were headed to Australia before the pandemic hit. And I think that'd be a great thing for you to bring to the Power We Symposium. Come on the stage and let the whole room do like a 45-minute meditation thing, because that's what our speakers get, 45 minutes to speak. I'm giving you that opportunity right now. I'm throwing it out there and let you know. Keep that open. I'm so excited. So how is it? Okay, so you started the meditation. I'm thinking what we should do is go to break. because when we come back, I'm going to pull a map up and I've got some pictures I want to show and ask you what was going on when you took the picture, what was going on in the picture. But I also want to show the map so you can kind of point out where your journey in India began and how far you went, because you went quite a bit of ways. And how did you plan it? How did you? I mean, you landed. I pictured you just walking out of the however you got there, just walking out like, hey, do you know how I can get on this cart? Get on this cart with us, and I could just so from one day to the next. Was it a different experience? You just let it happen?
I'm a strong believer in the Most High, and so I just put all of my faith. Even when I started my GoFundMe, which ultimately I raised $10,000, I just said, "Hey, just put your faith in me." And I don't have this planned out at all. All I know is that I'm going there with a mission, and that is to come back a different person.
Wow! When we return from our break, we're going to let Demetrius take us on a part of this journey as much as he can today. You don't want to miss it. Take this opportunity during the break. Start a watch party. Invite some friends. Share this out, whatever you can, because if you ever wanted to be a part of something greater than yourself, this is how easy it is. It's not painful. It doesn't cost. You're not going to bleed. But people are going to need to hear this story, and it might as well start with you. So stay put. We'll be back right after these messages. Okay.
Oh, I gotta go.
Oh, you're having a little side conversation. Okay, we're back. We're back. Yeah, from now on, the little frying pan will be your cue. You know we're coming back. We're here, everybody. Welcome back to Monday's edition of Bathrobe Moments. I'm your host, Loren Michaels Harris, and today my guest is a young man, Demetrius.
Napolitano.
I was gonna try it. Napolitano. There it is. Okay, there it is. And we're about to get into. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share the screen and take us over to just a little. I just pulled up a little Google map because we can still hear you. Say something,
Demetrius.
Okay, so can you see my cursor moving around?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna stay here in this form of it, and so here's a little kitty map of you started where? Here in Nepal, correct?
Yes, I started in Nepal.
Okay, now tell me where to take the cursor. Where did you go from there?
Okay, you see, is that Rajasthan? It's Rajasthan, right? By Pakistan.
I don't even see Pakistan. Where's that at?
Pakistan is on the opposite side of Tibet.
Oh, over here somewhere?
No, opposite direction.
Over here.
Keep going to America. Keep going left. Keep going to the side.
Okay.
Keep going. So Rajasthan. This is Rajasthan.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I spent. I was in Rishikesh, which is where I did my yoga, which is above Rajasthan. I'm not seeing that area.
Okay, we're up in here.
Yeah, more or less. So
Okay.
I was in an area where I studied yoga, and then I went to Rajasthan. And once again, I didn't plan this trip. I didn't say, okay, I'm going here, boom, boom, boom. I just let the journey unfold as I went along. And then so I was in Rajasthan for about a month or so, and then I eventually went to maybe I think it's in Uttar Pradesh, which is the green part, when where it says Delhi. And then I was there for a little bit, and then from there I went to Rishi. I went to where I go. I went to Varanasi, which is in more or less this red part where it's to the
Here.
right of that part right there, Rishikesh,
Here. Okay.
which is where it's the holiest place in India, and this is where I learned not to be afraid of death because they celebrate death there. They have
Wow.
it's where Mother Ganga is, and they burn the bodies. And it was real briefly, it was an experience where I saw how people were cremated and looking at the loved ones around them, and and now in the Western culture, when we have someone who transitioned from this life,
Right.
we are hysterical, and rightfully so. We cry and we mourn. And not saying that these people weren't mourning, it was just
Mhm.
a different feeling to it. It was more of a, you know what, they have lived their life and now they are liberated from this, and that death is not to be feared, but to be celebrated, more or less. So
Okay.
that was a phenomenal experience. And then I went further. I think that would be to the west, and then I went to Bodh Gaya, which is the place where Buddha reached enlightenment, and this is where I got deep into my meditation. So this would be somewhere in that area.
This way.
Somewhere in that, not Bangladesh, because that's a different
Okay.
country, but somewhere between, somewhere in that area right there. And this is where,
Okay.
like I said, this is where Buddha reached enlightenment, and this is where I got deep into meditation, meditated on
Wow.
the Bodhi tree, which is where Buddha reached enlightenment under the tree. And then
Okay.
from there, I made my way towards the south. So if you zoom out of the map a little bit, and then so I went down further into maybe like the light blue area. I went to a
Okay.
place called Jabalpur, and I only was there for a day, and then I went further south, and then I was in Kerala. So Kerala is the green part. So
Okay.
so I was in Kerala and Goa, which you see Goa on the side part
Okay.
negative.
Yes.
And then those two places, that's where in the forest in Kerala, specifically, Anachal Manar is where I spent 3 months, 3.5 months during quarantine. And so I was in the forest, and this is where I really got, I mean, it was only 7 of us at the hostel. And so I was able to just be alone with my faith, with my soul, meditate deeper, get deeper into what it means to be Demetrius and to love himself. And yes, I made a lot of mistakes along the journey, but it was a place where I would say the most healing transpired.
Well, wait a minute. Did you say? Hold on. Did you say I made a lot of mistakes along the journey?
Yeah, yeah.
No, you didn't. I ain't got to go to India to find that one. I didn't send it to the poetry, but I will tell you, it came. This content came from the same place. It comes from the same bolt of cloth, and it comes to me on its way through me. So I'm gonna tell
Mm,
you that. No, you didn't, because there are no such things as mistakes. Those are just blessings and miracles that are becoming.
mm. Okay, okay. I might take
Just
that one.
like we are.
I see.
Remember when you thought you were a mistake? I
Okay.
remember when I thought I was a mistake. No, I wasn't. I was the blessing that I am today, and I was becoming. I was in the process of becoming. That's
Mm,
all it was. That's all it was. There were no mistakes. Right. You're gonna see why every one of those things had to be.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
because your journey didn't stop when you got back here. You know this, boy. You better come on here now. See. That's what 58 to get you. I'm just so listen. We're gonna play a little game, which I've started doing with some of my guests that have got great photos, and I've got 4 pictures, and I want you to tell me what was going on, what was that day all about? Because you know this, what I love about you need to write. I wish you would write a book about this journey,
yeah, I am.
because
I'm working on it.
right, because you said it wasn't planned. You just wake up and you let what is greater than you lead you. You know, a lot of us think we understand when we say, oh, well, they say, well, just I was led to, that sort of thing. And there's really something wonderful and mystical about that. My greatest experiences in this life have come when something by following the leading, the gentle
Mm.
prompting. So I'm going to put this up. Let's start with this one.
Oh,
Talk about that day.
yeah. So this was in Wakala, which is in the state of Kerala, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Kerala, and this is where I stayed at this hostel called the Lost Hostel, and which is where I also the same hostel that I stayed in Manar, which is a few hours away, but it's a different lost hostel. It was funny because it's the name of the hostel is called The Lost Hostel, and I went to India to get lost to find myself. In any case, so this picture I took often I would go along the beach and just converse with my soul and just be alone. And it was a day where I felt like, I don't know, I felt like a superhero. You feel me? I had my jacket, I had my vest on, and my pants was fire, and then the sunset was so beautiful. And it reminded me just the beauty of life. You know, so there are so many things that we have to be grateful for, and things that we overlook, whether we're so connected to our phones, we're so connected, but we are so also disconnected. So it was a moment where not only because of the scenery, but the scenery also showed me the beauty that was residing in my heart at the time. And so I had to capture that moment because it spoke to my soul.
Wow. You know, that water looks like, you know, when you, it looks almost like, I wouldn't be surprised if you would have thought, let me just walk on out here for a minute. I'm just walk out here on this water. What a beautiful, right? Okay. So what about this one?
Oh, so this was an amazing picture. One second.
Okay. Heard something dinging, something in the microwave or something there.
I had to go my brother brought me my charger. So this picture was I had just climbed, it's the second highest mountain in Mannar, Kerala, and it takes about an hour and a half to get up the mountain, and it takes about an hour and a half to get down. And so this was after I just finished doing Vipassana meditation, which is where I spent 10 days in complete silence, meditating for 10 and a half hours each day. So we begin meditation at 4:30 a.m. and then we finish meditating at 9 p.m. And so and that in itself was really the transformative experience.
So wait a minute. You don't get up and eat? You don't go to the bathroom, nothing during that whole time?
No, you do. So you break it up. So our first meditation was from like 4:30 to 6:30. And then we would have break till 9, so hour and a half break, and then from 9 to 11. So the meditations was either for an hour long or 2 hours long. And so that experience was probably the most transformative experience for me because it was 10 days, 10 and a half hours of just complete silence, no connecting with the world, just connecting with the inner world. And so I climbed this mountain with a few of my friends, and we took this picture. And I remember right before I left India, I climbed the mountain by myself this time. And it was just a place where I just connected with my spirit and really wanted to fill my cup, because we are in this world to fill other people's cups. And so, I was like, I need that bell right now. Hold on.
You really had to tell me the deals made me do it. Good Lord. Yes. Wow. And these next two pictures, I love all of these photos. I don't know who was taking them, but they were definitely anointed. These moments were divine moments. All you have to do is look. These are two of my favorites. I'm going to start with this one. Tell us about that day. What's going on here? You're giving rice, it looks like.
Yeah. This is when I was feeling like Gandhi.
Right.
But, this was when I was in Bodh Gaya, which is the place where Buddha reached enlightenment, and I made some really good friends. And they just, hey, Demetrius, would you be willing to just be able to get some rice and then share it with the local community? And this community and it's so interesting. They were bereft of, the housing. They slept outside. They was bereft of food, of water, and all of these things. But one thing that they did not lack, which was kindness. They did not lack compassion. They did not lack love. And I, even when I went to give them this rice, I didn't have much money, but I bought a bag so I can give to these folks. And the gratitude that they showed on their face, it was as if I gave them $1 million, and I just gave them food maybe for 2 nights to eat. And for me, I wish I could have done more, but I reminded myself I am doing what I can, and that's what matters most. And so it was a moment where I reflected on what was most important in life. We are all here to serve one another. And so it was a moment where I had, none of the technology, none of the money, none of the fame, the wealth, none of that mattered. It was like, this is what life is about, giving to those who we can never do, who can never repay us. But They did repay me because they taught me the beauty of being grateful and being appreciative, even if they got a little bit. Talk about it.
Wow. Whoa. Okay. I don't know. I'm already sitting here going like, dang, I have to. I hate when the show closes. I have to go back to my boring ass life. I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? It's like it's really. But you know what? And we're going to talk about that because we don't want people to feel like what they're doing is not as important as this.
Absolutely.
The blessings, and when we bless others, they don't come in pints, quarts, or gallons. When you go to India and do what you're doing in this picture, you have everybody. You know how I feel about being a part of something greater than yourself. When you just send a smile through your car window to the homeless person that's staring at you on the corner. You may not have the money to give them anything, but you're giving them some value. You're giving them connection. You're letting
Yeah,
them say, when I smile back, I see you. I'm not going to act like you're invisible. So you can do the same thing from whatever corner in the world you stand in. So
absolutely.
tell me about this one.
I'm a snap. I just got to snap it. I ain't got a
This
belt.
one
So
don't even make no sense.
yeah, so this was another powerful experience. So this was in the northern India, and this was in I'm blanking right now. No, I'm not. It's in Punjab, and this was at
Punjab.
the Punjab, yeah, the Golden Temple, and this
Okay.
is predominantly the Sikh religion. And I went there because a friend, another fellow traveler, said, once again, I didn't plan anything. I was just going day by day, taking little things, taking life day by day, moment by
Sure.
moment. And so this friend said, "Hey, you should go to Punjab. You should go to the Golden Temple, and you should." And she just said, "Go there. Don't ask no questions. Just go." And so when I got there, I learned the beauty of service. So this was a massive place where they feed you and they shelter you for free. And doesn't matter, you can stay for however long you want. You can eat as much as you want. And I was humbled by seeing folks who could be my grandfather serving me food, serving me everything that I needed in that moment, whether it was a place to lie my head. In that moment, I had a little financial troubles. And so I was able to rest my head in a place where I knew I was safe, where I was comforted, I was protected. And so, but the most important thing was seeing folks who can once again be my grandfather, be my grandmother, serving me, and not serving me with any type of I this person should be serving me. It was that selfless service that I learned in Punjab, and it was a beautiful experience because I remember going to the Golden Temple, which is what you see right there, and I remember
Mm-hmm.
being online. Me and this brother, Sikh brother, got into a conversation, and I was asking about different religions and whatnot. He said, "You see the four entries. So if you look behind the Golden Temple, you see like a tree. So that was one entry. So they have four big major entries to get to the Golden Temple itself. And so he said each entrance it represents a different religion. It represents a different walk of faith. And he says it doesn't matter you're black, white, Christian, atheist, Muslim, Sikh. We are all on a path back to God's abode, which is the Golden Temple as a symbol. And so
Wow.
I was humbled because it reminded me that, in a world where we focus so much on our differences, so much on the external, we are all connected in this life. And so it was like, it doesn't matter if I believe this or don't believe this. We are all on this path of life together. And we should not forget that, especially in these times.
Wow. Couldn't have said that better myself. Now, how did it make you feel? Here you are, thousands and thousands of miles away from home, and it's already a challenge, and that's the beauty of something like what you've done. And I love it when young people, I regret that I didn't get to do that when I was a young person, to get just go and just learn through exploration, leaving everything open to what is greater than you, to just teach through experience. So, well, you said a couple things I want you to touch on because I know that they're important. You said connecting with the inner world, and the reason I think these are important because I believe that this pandemic is what I refer to as the great equalizer. It has forced each and every one of us who are underneath the same umbrella right now worldwide to see how we are doing, like a litmus test, if you will, as far as spending quality time with ourselves. Quarantining has forced a lot of people because the world stopped, basically. So I want you to talk about this connection with the inner world and also randomly conversing with my soul. I think that sounds like a book to me. Conversing with my
Right.
soul. Talk about it.
Conversing with myself. Conversing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first part when you talked about, I
Connecting.
remember, yeah, connecting with your soul, your mind, yourself. I remember what my brother had said to me. He said, oh, as the pandemic was traveling throughout the entire world when I was in India, he said, you know, we can't go outside, so we're forced to go within. And
Mm.
so it was a moment where I know, yeah, I pay homage to him. He said that, but when I reflected on it, I said, Demetrius, this is what this whole journey has been about. It's been about going within, and you know, we would rather go spend time with friends, strangers, family, everyone else, and pursue every external material thing than
Mm.
spend time with ourselves, right? But
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
when we lie our head down on our bed, I don't whether we are lying with 10 people or just two, we still, everyone lies their head down and being you're alone. And as far as everyone lays their head down alone, so if you're not comfortable in your own skin, then how can you be comfortable with others? How can you love? How can you serve? How can you help if you don't have all of these qualities first within yourself? So it's extremely important in a world where the pandemic has forced us to realize what's most important. And the most important thing, I think, one of the things is our mental health, is our spiritual health, is our physical health, emotional health, and the such. And once we look within ourselves, then we can help one another. One of my favorite things to wrap this point up is when you're on an airplane and they say, and there are moments where my heart is like, no, I got to help other folks. If something
Mm.
happens in the mass, you know, but they say, first
Mm-hmm.
thing, cover yourself, cover your face. Then you can help those, but you can't help everyone else.
Woo.
Yourself. Come on, shake,
Well, you
shake.
better stop now. You better stop.
You know, we can't help if we don't have, if we're not grounded within ourselves. And so to the next point, conversing with my soul, I mean, that's really what all of my meditation has been about, is conversing with my soul, getting
Mm.
with what it means to be Demetrius, what it means to love myself, what it means to go within my mind. And I'll share this point.
Yeah.
When you think about a death, let's say, you know, where we get all frightened and scared, but if you think deeply about it, life is born in darkness, right? So we think of death as as going into the oblivion, as going into unending darkness and the abyss of darkness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But if you think about when you came into this world, where were you? You was in darkness for 9 months. So it is life there. So when you meditate and you have that conversation with your soul, it is just going within your own darkness and going piercing that darkness until you see the light, because the light and the darkness, they need each other. Hello. So
Mm-hmm.
I get
Right.
passionate about these
You know,
things.
look, you better keep going here. Listen to me. I want to know this. When you speak with your soul, you converse with your soul. Tell us about your understanding from as a result of this trip, where you are now, in your belief system, as far as our souls coming to this world to evolve, tell me what does the soul mean to you? How about that? Well, I
Yeah,
mean, what is it? Is it that thing that keeps moving from one life to the next? Is it when you converse with your soul, who you conversing with?
yeah, that's a loaded in question, but I'm gonna break it down as fast as I can and as brief.
Okay.
Uh, so, I mean, first, I personally don't ascribe to any particular religion. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that there's truth in each one, and even the ones that may seem that they contradict each other, because it is only man that takes the religion and then distorts it and uses it, molds it to his own, for his own advantage, and then that's when it becomes corruptible, or it becomes
Mm-hmm.
corrupt. Yeah,
Right.
becomes corrupt. And so and if you look at all of the major religions, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and the such, Hinduism, all of them have the more or less common denominators, which is love thy neighbor, don't steal, don't lie, you know, treat others how you want to be treated. But
Amen.
we look at the surface level and say, hey, I'm Christian, you're Muslim, this and this. And then we disrespect and we disregard other people's lives and such. So this is why one of the main reasons why I don't ascribe to any particular religion, although I did grow up Christian. And
Right.
so for me, I pull from each religion and apply what's applicable,
Accordingly.
you feel me, to my life. Like when you eat chicken, what do you do, or fish? You eat what is consumable, and you discard the rest. So that's what I do with as far as the
Oh, that's a good way of put. That's a great one. I'm gonna
and
be
so
using that. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna be
that's,
using that.
that's
No doubt.
yeah,
Assuming if you want to, I'm gonna still use it. I'm just
man,
kidding.
man, man,
That's
it's
great
fine.
though. You
Man,
take what you
it's
consume.
not mine. I take no credit
That,
for this.
that's great. Go ahead.
But as far as the soul, that's I mean, I don't really know to tell you the truth. But what I'm going to say is that I think we all have a soul. I don't think that we are our bodies per se, but rather this is just a vehicle. Let's say you get in a vehicle and then you
That's
drive
right.
from one destination to the
That's
next.
right.
You get out the car and then you go about your day. So I perceive, right, and it's not to say one is right, other is the wrong. As my chess mentor once told me, he said there are as many ways to see a thing as there are people to see it. So when we talk about the soul, if you ask 10, or meditation, you ask 10 different people about the soul or
You'll get 10
meditation.
different answers.
And it's not to say one is right or the wrong. So my perception is that our bodies are like the vehicles that we use, whether it's the train, the car, the plane. When we get into them, we get to our destination, then we go on. So I think that or I believe that our bodies is what we just use for this moment, and that we are on this life's journey to experience it, to love, to experience all of it, the joy, the suffering, and the such, and to connect. And then we transition out of this body and we go on. And of course, I can't prove that,
Right.
because that's in its
Well,
own experience. But
well,
yeah,
I always think there's so many clues. That's what I love about life. It's a scavenger hunt. You go. That's why a lot of people don't understand the importance of going back to the proverbial scenes of the crimes, because they're not crimes. They weren't bad things. They weren't curses. Like I was saying earlier, they were the beginning of your miracles becoming. So, like when I go back and let's just say, for instance, in those 22 homes, those isolated incidences of any type of abuse. For decades, I carried anger. I resented those moments. The last thing I wanted to do was look, think, or go back there in my mind. Um, but they were mile markers. That's all they were. They were proof to me of how I had moved down the road of my journey. And I had to reinvent blame. I used to, think, look what you did to me. Look what you're responsible for. I'll never know how to love. I'll never be loved as any other. But then when it happened, when I looked up one day and I was looking to the eyes of my everything, I remember when I told what was greater than me that I would rather spend 5 minutes with my soulmate than a lifetime with just any old body. And I was starting to question around 40 something, like, damn, you took me seriously, But the thing about it is, Demetrius, is that the eyes are the window to the soul. Because when you see the truth, you know it. It is the only thing in the universe that never changes. The truth doesn't get taller or shorter, fatter or skinnier, older or younger. The truth right now will be the same truth a billion years from now. It will not have changed, and it will not change on us, which is why I want to look to the left and the right and see myself standing directly between truth, before and after. Truth. I believe that's in Christianity what they mean when God says, I'm the first and the last, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. No matter where you're at in the journey, I'm going to be right there within reach of everything. That's why when we go in things, I don't have problems. I have opportunities. And when I step over the threshold of that opportunity on purpose, I look in there for more purpose, because I know all I have to do to find it is look around from top to bottom, bottom to top, side to side, corner to corner, and corner to corner. And you said that 360 turnaround. That's what that is. And I just, so you got me going. Look, the good thing I ain't got to. This is if I was in church. This when the organ would start playing. That you see the choir stand up, start moving from side to side.
Right. You get the
It's time
spirit.
for the altar call. Listen. What about this? Who was the most interesting person that you met on this journey to India? Who was the most? If I said who was the most interesting person, pops in your mind, and why?
Yeah, and this is definitely not my ego speaking. This is my heart speaking. I remember I wrote on Facebook one day, and I said to myself, or wrote on this post, I said, I initially thought I was going to India to find myself. I realized when I got here, I'm creating myself. So I think that, no, I don't think I know.
There you
The
go.
most interesting, beautiful, compassionate person I've met on that journey was me. And I met a deeper version of myself. I tapped into and then this is not to say that I have met some of the most amazing souls I have ever crossed in this world, and hundreds of them come through my mind right now. But the person that I can only say the most interesting is the soul that I spent the most time with through the ups, the downs, the sideways, and all of the such.
Yes.
So for myself, meeting this Demetrius, getting in touch with him, and this is not just saying, "Hey, I love you," when you're feeling fly and you're feeling like you can walk on air, on water, and you're feeling it's also meeting that Demetrius when he's in the midst of his struggles, his internal challenges, when he is sinking in the abyss of doubt and fear and all of this, and still saying, "Hey, you know what? I love you. I got you. We gonna get through." So I have to say that, because before I didn't, and I'm still learning myself, as Michelle Obama in her book Becoming, right? We are constantly becoming, and we are like the flow of a river which never stops, and is, if you jump in the river and you jump out, you didn't jump in that same river, you jumped into another space in that river, if you will. And so I'm still becoming, but that was the most important and powerful person that I met, was a deeper version of myself.
That's the best person you could have met on that. And that, you really said something there. I thank you for that. I received that. I really, really do. I've got to get you back. We got to bring you back on Bathrobe Moments After Dark so that we can continue this, because and that's a once a week show. Seriously, I'm going to call you about that, because there's so much, and you're so interesting. And I believe that this trip was for you, but it was also for you to bring back, all of those things. They were brought to you so that they could go move through you and come to us, because not all of us can make it there. Not all of us can find our way there. But the truth that you bring back is as if we had gone ourselves. So you see what I'm saying? And I love you for that. I want to talk to you next time more about what you plan to do. I know you have a lot of things on the horizon as far as change for our kids, our at-risk youth, and our foster kids, not just foster kids, but all kids.
Yep.
When they tell me, "Oh, how special needs kids," listen, all kids are special, and all kids have needs. All of them. So, that's where the gold, that's where the platinum of the future lives, was in those hills, known as the future, the kids, the youth. So I want to come back, bring you back to talk about that. Jerry Springer moment right now, Demetrius. Let's pretend for just a second that the entire world their mouths have been muted. Everyone but yours. If the entire world could hear you right now for about 1 minute and no one else, how would you use that minute? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say that I think in this moment in our lives, we have to realize that one of the key things about life is that, I do believe that God is very intentional in how He created our physique. He deliberately gave us one mouth and two ears for a reason. So in this time and in this world, and especially all that's going on with both without and within, we need to and listen more to each other, and we ultimately need to listen to our own souls and our own hearts.
There you go. That's it. I love it. Demetrius, thank you so much. God bless you for all you've done. And thank you for starting the week out with us here today on Bathrobe Moments. You're incredible, and you're doing incredible things. Everyone, put your hands together, put some hearts on the screen for Demetrius. And remember, just like this young man, if you want to be a blessing, just find the nearest mirror, pick it up and look at yourself. Because in order to be a blessing, you first need to be a blessing. God bless you all. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning right here for your next episode of Bathrobe. Bye, everyone.